In my message today, as a dispute resolution consultant, I want to talk about jurisprudence of defamation. And here today, I'm going to focus on Nigeria as a nation, because from my own recent experience, I came to realize that Nigeria law enforcement are being used by the rich against the poor, the powerful against the weak, the connected to government officials against the nobody citizen in the society. You see a situation where the law enforcement are being used by the landlords against their own tenants, the employer against the employee, where the police force and even the EFCC as a law enforcement agency can become debt collectors between buyers and sellers. Imagine if someone is arrested due to a false petition submitted to a law enforcement agency. Such person can file a civil action for malicious prosecution and or defamation. These remedies allow the victim to claim damages for reputational harm, like loss of liberty, emotional distress, and financial costs. In summary, the person wrongfully arrested due to false petition can sue for malicious prosecution, defamation, and false imprisonment. Each remedy in a tort case like this targets different aspects of the harm, the loss of liberty, reputational damage, and abuse of legal process. If we look at malicious prosecution, we see it from its definition. It occurs when someone is subjected to criminal proceedings without probable cause and with malice. Though you may have a requirement to prove it, but the prosecution have to be initiated by the complainant. So that is, at the end of the day, it ended in favor of the accused, and the accused is discharged, acquittal, or dismissal. So, and it is found at the end of the day that there was no reasonable or probable cause for an arrest or prosecution, or the person is discharged or case dismissed at the end of the day, and that the complainant that originated this case acted with malice. So the accused has suffered damages, that is loss of liberty, reputation, and financial costs. So what are the recoverable damages the accused person can claim? They can claim compensation for wrongful arrest or detention, legal expenses incurred in the process, and loss of reputation and emotional distress. When we look at defamation, defamation is either libel or slander. So that is making false statements that damage another's reputation. A false petition alleging criminality is defamatory because it portrays the victim as a criminal. Imagine you wrote to someone and labeled the person as a criminal, or in exchange of conversation between two people, between you and somebody, you accuse the other person as a criminal, even by email, or you use social media posts, or you text a message on your phone to a person calling him or her a criminal. And you went ahead and wrote a petition against the person, submitted to a law enforcement agency, that the person is a criminal. Such false statement that came maybe by your own anger, by your own malice, through your own emotional bankruptcy, or ignorance of the law, or you're ignorant about the tort law, could lead to the other person emotional distress, loss of reputation, and wrongful arrest. Then your case therefore qualify for libel, slander, defamation, and recoverable damages, even in Nigeria, where law enforcement agencies are being used as debt collectors. The recoverable damages, as I've said earlier on, can go under injury to reputation, emotional suffering, possible punitive damages if malice is proven. And the most important aspect of this matter is on false imprisonment. That is, and what is false imprisonment? False imprisonment is unlawful restraint of a person's freedom without legal justification. If the arrest was based solely on fabricated petition without lawful grounds, the victim may sue for false imprisonment and recover compensation for time spent in custody. Let me tell you, the time spent in custody doesn't have to be weeks, months, or years. Recoverable compensation for time spent in custody. The emotional and psychological harm caused to the person as a result of such arrest, and loss of income during detention. So when we look at this case under the jurisprudence of defamation in Nigeria context, then we have to consider the nature of defamation. Like I said to you, defamation is an intentional tort under Nigerian law, meaning the wrongdoer acts knowingly. Then it involves false statement that harm another's reputation. You intentionally want to use your position and connection to people in the high authority, to people in government, to power, to politicians, or the people in position of authority in Nigeria, to damage the reputation of another Nigerian. And so you wrote a false petition to make a false statement to the Nigerian police, to EFCC, or any law enforcement agency about the other person because you are connected with the chairman of EFCC, a commissioner of police, or anybody that you know in government. So now, Nigerian courts define defamation as worse that expose a person to hatred, contempt, ridicule, or lower them in the estimation of society. And mind you, defamation has different kinds of eye. Like a libel is a written or published defamation. That is something you wrote in newspaper, you post in social media, or a text messages you send to somebody, or by voice messages. But slander can be classified as a spoken defamation. Libel is what you wrote and published. Slander is what you spoke, that is oral statement, something you broadcast, maybe through radio or television, or by your voicemail from your phone to others. So, but the other person that want to sue you have an element to prove defamation against you. Because to succeed in a defamation action, the claimant must show that the statement was defamatory. It was published to a third party. It referred to the claimant, particularly mentioned the claimant by name. What I'm trying to say here is somebody cannot just sue you because of what you say, but you have to mention the person by name. So nobody can sue you because you said something to the husband or to the wife. No. It has to be direct to you. And you cannot sue somebody for defamation because somebody said this to my husband. So the person that is concerned that your name is mentioned is the person that can sue for defamation. So the claimant suffer damage through libel is actionable per se without proof of damage. That is, you say something against me, I don't have to prove so much about how it occurred. So there are keys to Nigerian case law. If we look at Salahuddin versus Okunloye in 2019 case, it defined defamation as publication of words that lower a person in the estimation of right-thinking members of society. Another case to consider here is Sketch Publishing Company Limited versus Ajagbemo Keferi, a case that occurred in Nigeria in 1989. The case established that libel is actionable per se, meaning damages are presumed. So when you study the case of Sketch Publishing Company Limited versus Ajagbemo Keferi in 1989, it established that libel is actionable per se, meaning damages are presumed. And another case we can consider here in regard to Nigerian law as regard defamation is Guardian Newspaper Limited versus Aje of 2011. It reaffirmed that truth is a complete defense to defamation. If you want to defend that you did not commit this error, then what you said has to be the truth. So you can't just wake up in the morning and fabricate lie, distortion of facts against the other person. So the only complete defense you have is what you said is the truth. So nobody can sue you for saying the truth about the other person. But what we are looking here is you are trying to fabricate lie, distortion of facts in order to harm the other person. And that is the statement. That is the statement you submitted to the law enforcement agency about the person is the truth. You can go to any law enforcement agency and submit petition, write statement, say whatever you want to say. If it is the truth, that is the only defense you have. So defenses to defamation is truth and your justification for saying the truth. If the statement is true, it is not defamatory. Therefore, you cannot fabricate lies and distort facts of a matter between you and the other person and rush to the police, the FCC just because your senior brother by the other mother is a member of the ruling party. Therefore, the civil servant job cannot be used by you as a privileged member of the 10% top VIP in the society to punish the rest 90% of us. No. The law doesn't operate like that. You may be thinking that you can go away with anything you say. It depends on the people or the kind of person you say it to, or you wrote something about. You are going to put money on the table of the person you wrongly accuse that lead to an arrest. Even if the arrest or detention is just 1 hour. Fair comments are covered in defamation. That is honest opinions on matter of public interest. Because for public interest is fair matter. You can defend that what you said is just an honest opinion for public interest. But your intention, the intention that led you to make such comment is made for public interest. That's another defense. Then there are things that are covered by tort law, that is statements made in parliament, statements made in courts or other protected context. So if the claimant consented to the publication, that is, you said something wrong about one person because he already asked you or allowed you to be saying it about him or her. So when we consider the Nigerian courts award damages for injury to reputation, emotional distress, and financial loss. In aggravated cases, exemplary damages may be awarded to punish malicious conduct. Let's look finally at an aspect of Nigerian jurisprudence. I've told you earlier on that defamation is a false statement lowering reputation. Libel is written, slander is spoken. Actionable is that libel no need per se to prove damage. You don't have to prove damage. Another aspect is that your defense should be based on truth, fair comment, or privileged consent. Now, today in social media is everywhere. Nigerian courts increasingly treat online posts as libel, making defamation law more relevant in the digital age. In summary, Nigerian jurisprudence on defamation is well developed, balancing protection of reputation with freedom of expression. Libel is actionable per se, while slander generally require proof of damage. Nigerian courts emphasize truth, fair comment, and privilege as defenses, while awarding damages to restore reputation and deter malicious falsehood. So this message is coming to you from Dr. Emmanuel Adetula. Welcome to Common Sense Communications Network, CCN. Common Sense, C. Communications, C. Network, CCN.
This message is coming to you from Dr. Emmanuel Adetula. Dr. Emmanuel Adetula, with over 12 years' experience as a tax consultant since 2013 in United States, is also a negotiator, mediator, and dispute resolution consultant with certificates and diplomas in negotiation